Set. Places, everybody. And action.
Welcome to the Hooked on Movies podcast. Today, we will be reviewing the 2000 comedy release, State and Main, celebrating 25 years. With me are Ken.
Everybody makes their own fun. If you don't make it yourself, it isn't fun. It's entertainment.
And Ted.
Call LA. I want to see pictures of women's tits.
And I'm Eric. Go you Huskies.
Go you Huskies.
Thank you. All right. State and Main. So let's see how we all have been doing since our last encounter. Ken, what's new and exciting with you?
Been continuing to watch the TV show Evil. I'm getting almost done with the second season. Outside of that, sports and video games. I like to buy older video games. So like 2K Sports came out with like a sale because they're going to be doing their new version of this year. So I decided to buy the old ones from last year. So wrestling, basketball, and tennis. So I'm playing those games right now and playing poker and dreaming about going back to Vegas. So outside that, I'm okay. How about you, Ted?
Well, nothing too exciting. Eric inspired me, so I've restarted watching The Sopranos again.
Really? From day one?
Oh, yes, of course.
Nice.
I'm in season 3. And
What?
I know, right?
Season 3 from the last time we spoke. He's going to pass me. It's inevitable.
The Pine
He's probably
Barrens.
watching those Marvel movies too at the same
Well,
time.
He's probably watching DC Comics now.
Good God, no. Nobody wants to watch those. No, I did finish the Marvel movies, and I will say watching it in timeline order makes the sacrifices mean a lot more. For The Sopranos, I just finished The Pine Barrens. I think it's probably one of the best TV episodes in TV history. It's where Michael and Paulie end up out in the woods.
Oh, yes, that's a great one. And
Yeah,
stuck in the van and freezing to death.
Michael Imperioli and the guy who plays Paulie, they're absolutely wonderful in that movie. And that's in that episode. And that episode was directed by Steve Buscemi.
Ah,
So what's up with you, Eric? What have you been up to?
not much, man. I've only watched one movie. I can't keep up with you. I watched the 1982 release, Best Little Whorehouse in Texas.
Dolly Parton.
Burt Reynolds.
Yeah,
Charles
Burt
Durning
Reynolds.
was
Charles
in this
Durning.
movie.
Yes.
Yeah. Dolly is the gift to America.
Not on this set, from what I've heard.
Yeah,
on
she
the Best
was
Little Whorehouse in Texas.
Wasn't the best person to work with on this set.
Really?
But yeah,
Well.
but the overall product, I like it. I know the critics panned it, but it's a fun little musical.
For
It
me,
really
Charles Durning is the whole movie. For me, that's what makes it work.
as the governor.
Okay.
Yep, he does that little song and dance.
Yes. Other than that, I think I've watched maybe a couple additional episodes of Sopranos, but I'm still chugging along. And
What season are you on?
yeah, what season? I think I'm on the final season now. I'm on 6.
Yes.
I'm on season 6, which has the most episodes. That's our weekend review. Where can they find us? Boy, where can't they find us? We're everywhere now.
We are everywhere.
We're on YouTube. We're on the Dorkening Network. We're on
Yes, we are.
Good Pods. You name it, we're there. So we've definitely have expanded. So Twitter, Facebook. My goodness. Let's talk. When was the first time you guys saw this movie, Ken?
It was on cable, probably
Yeah.
a year or two after it came out. I caught
You
it
don't
in
say.
the middle of the movie itself, and then so I had to rewatch it from beginning to end later on.
And Ted, first time for you, isn't it?
This is
Yeah.
your first go around.
First go around. I watched this probably a year or two ago when you gave me the DVD copy. Other than
Yes.
that, I watched it then, but I haven't watched it before. So yeah, it's kind of new eyes for me. Not as new as Ted, but
Eric gets
Yeah.
about 90% of my hand-me-downs.
yes, that's absolutely
Close, too?
right. No, no clothes. Video formatted stuff.
Gotcha.
DVDs, Blu-rays.
All
I
right.
think that's about it, right? You haven't given me anything else.
No, just
No.
syphilis ones. But
Syphilis ones, yes. That's
Underwear,
you know.
jeans,
Yeah.
t-shirts.
It's a gift that keeps on giving. It's like luggage. All right.
Exactly. Jelly of the Month Club.
Jelly of the Month Club, yes. Ted, tell us about the particulars of this movie.
The particulars. Staten, Maine is directed by the amazing David Mamet and was written by the amazing David Mamet, Chicago's own David Mamet. The music score was by Theodore Shapiro. It has a running time of 105 minutes. It was released December 22nd, 2000. So Christmas release. It had a box office gross of $9.2 million. Now, I could not find anywhere a budget for this movie, but I'm sure that the budget was more than $9.2 million, considering all the people who are in this movie.
Oh, yeah, clearly it had to be more than that.
The only way it wouldn't be is unless they took a pay cut to work with David Mamet, which is possible.
This wasn't in like an independent release. This was in theaters.
It was in theaters, but it was independently released. So there's a few different studios that release this, but none of the major studios. So it's kind of like Glengarry Glen Ross like that. So on Rotten Tomatoes, it has a certified critic score, certified fresh, of 85%, and an audience score of 70%. On IMDb, it has an user rating of 6.7. So all kind of in line with each other. The critics really liked it, though, which is not surprising considering it's David Mamet. So, Staten, Maine stars, and get ready for this list. There's some heavy hitters here. So we have William H. Macy as Walt Price, Sarah Jessica Parker as Claire Wellesley, Alec Baldwin as Bob Berenger, Julia Stiles as Carla, Philip Seymour Hoffman as Joseph Turner White, Rebecca Pidgeon as Anne, David Paymer as Marty Rosen, Clark Gregg as Doug McKenzie, Patty Lupone as Sherry Bailey, Charles Durning as Mayor George Bailey, Lionel Mark Smith as Bill Smith, Ricky Jay as Jack, Michael Higgins as Doc Wilson, Jonathan Katz as Howie Gold, Laura Silverman as the secretary, Michael Bradshaw as the town priest, and J.J. Johnson as the station master. And then as a cameo in his first appearance on screen anywhere, John Krasinski as the judge's assistant.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Yeah, Jim from The Office makes his first appearance anywhere. You have to look really, really fast to catch him.
Thanks, Ted.
You bet.
Well, Ken, it's time for your tidbits. What do you got for us?
Ken's tidbits. Ken's tidbits.
I'm gonna have that outsourced out, so I don't have to hear you guys do that anymore.
He's gonna come up with his own theme song.
So, Staten, Maine was actually filmed in Massachusetts.
Bullshit! It's in Vermont.
It's actually shot in Manchester by the sea. So
a very good movie as well, too.
Chicken by the Sea.
But you can only watch that movie once, though, right?
I've watched it several times.
Really? And it doesn't make you want to just blow your brains out?
I didn't say that, but it's
sad as hell.
It's a great movie, though.
It was also shot in Beverly, Dedham, and Waltham,
Massachusetts.
The first version of the screenplay was written in the mid-1980s as a collaborative work between Mamet and Elaine May. The actors originally cast in this film included Whoopi Goldberg as Claire. Could you imagine Chevy Chase as Bob?
Yes.
Maybe.
Scumbag. Yeah.
Scumbag? Wow. Chevy Chase is awesome. Leave him alone. And Hank Azaria as Joseph Turner White.
And you're the only person who thinks that Chevy Chase is awesome.
No, I like some Chevy Chase movies.
I like some Chevy Chase movies as well, but he is a colossal cock.
Some people really like him.
Yeah, not very many people.
Beverly D'Angelo, for instance, is a huge Chevy Chase fan.
Well, yeah, because he made her career.
She was popular a little bit before that.
Really?
So.
Before The Vacation?
Yeah, she had some roles. Yeah, Beverly D'Angelo.
Okay, but she was not nearly what she was after Vacation.
There are people that get along. Dan Aykroyd likes him, but Dan Aykroyd kind of likes everybody. So
time has healed a lot of those wounds.
Yeah, well,
because
like
everybody from that original cast of Saturday Night Live hated him.
In fact, when they got inducted to the TV Hall of Fame, Chevy Chase made a point to acknowledge Bill Murray in the audience because he wasn't an original cast member.
Right, he wasn't an original.
So Chevy Chase, I think, has tried to do a lot of things in the last few years to kind of change
rehab
that perspective.
his image.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know he had some issues with the Community, the TV show
Oh,
that
yeah.
he was on. But I think
Just a few.
yeah, I think he's misunderstood to a certain extent. I'm not saying he's not an ass, because I do believe he's an ass, but he's also one who's made some really good movies.
Yeah, he's made some good movies.
And he's made some bad movies.
He's
Yeah.
made some colossally bad movies.
But from 1976 through 1986, he was a very bankable star. Foul Play seems like old times. The Vacation movies, of course. Fletch, Spies Like
Yeah.
Us.
Caddyshack.
Yeah,
I like him
Funny
in Deal of the
Farm.
Century.
that's a so-so movie for me. But Sigourney
Oh.
Weaver looks really good in that movie.
Funny Farm.
I think that's Funny Farm is maybe one of his last best
Yeah,
roles.
probably.
Anyway, so not much more than that, but I will read a few things that a couple actors said about working with David Mamet. Sarah Jessica Parker relished the different dimensions of Mamet scripts. She
Mammoth
said his
strips.
work is at once very complex and very simple and spare. Every word has meaning and a place. It is very challenging and fun. And David Paymer, who
Mhm.
plays the producer, Marty,
Marty.
praised the director as well with his flexibility. He said he doesn't urge you to play what is already written, and they're his words. So he's not like a Kevin Smith, who Kevin Smith demands you to say what he wrote, basically, right? He says with a character like Marty, your job is to help these people make this movie. Your way of doing that means that you have to be cruel, to be kind, but there's no calculated cruelty. He just loves the direction that that the director gave him, and of course the lines that are there when he needs them. And William H. Macy, at the time of the film was made, had collaborated with Mamet for 35 years before this. He says David is a great storyteller, and he tells big and brave stories. His writing is shockingly blunt and to the point, yet he contains poetry. It is poetry. It has a meter. As an example, he cites Mamet's play American Buffalo in 1975, in which Macy originated the role of Bobby. Anytime I run into an actor who has played that role, we start running the lines together. It's like singing a song. You just start humming the words. So big praises from the people that are in this movie. And as far as when we talked about the budget, Alec Baldwin helped finance this movie. He's was a big part of getting this movie off the ground.
Makes sense because he's a huge Mamet person, famously in Glengarry Glen Ross, and then The Edge with Anthony Hopkins.
I read somewhere though that they did not meet
No,
until
they
this
didn't.
film.
Yeah, he was awesome in Glengarry Glen Ross.
He was.
ABC, always be closing.
Yep.
And then, of course, in Saturday Night Live, he reprised his Glengarry Glen Ross role.
The elves.
With the
yes.
elves, yeah.
Always be cobbling.
Always
Always
be
be
cobbling,
cobbling,
yeah.
yes.
I always thought that Glen Ross, outside of that one scene, is overrated. Just
Oh
in my opinion.
no, that movie's
My opinion.
incredible. That's an incredible movie in my opinion.
I think that scene makes that movie worse. Like it reminds me of
It's the scene everybody remembers.
Well, it reminds me of the scene over in True Romance between Dennis Hopper and Christopher Walken. The rest of the movie is
It's an awesome scene.
okay, but that one scene elevates it. And I think that's the same thing with Glengarry Glen
that
Ross. in
one
my opinion.
scene made Quentin Tarantino.
The rest of the movie is just kind of okay. That's
Without
how I feel
romance.
about Glengarry Glen Ross.
Without that scene and without True Romance, Quentin Tarantino doesn't make Reservoir Dogs.
All right, Eric. Why don't you go ahead and take us to the setup then?
The setup, here we go. Havoc is wrought on the inhabitants of a small New England town by a troubled film production. After the leading man's penchant for underage girls gets them banished from their New Hampshire location, the crew moves to the small town of Waterford, Vermont, to finish shooting The Old Mill. As its title suggests, the film depends on the presence of a genuine mill, something the town is reported to possess. Unfortunately, the only days before principal photography begins, it becomes apparent that the mill is in fact burned down decades ago. Unfazed, the film's director, Walt Price, places his faith in the ability of first-time screenwriter Joseph Turner, White, to alter the script. What he doesn't count on is White's apparently bottomless reserve of angst-fueled writer's block. Joe must find a replacement for his typewriter, Fortunately, local bookstore owner and community theater director Ann Black provides him a typewriter along with editorial suggestions. An attraction is deeply felt, but Ann is engaged to ambitious local politician Doug. Well, I gotta say, I love the opening of this movie. William H. Macy just makes this movie as a director. I mean, he is just, it's just great. He has no shame at all. He just says what's on his mind, and I love him. I love him in this movie.
I think it's the best written
my
character.
people died so we could make this movie.
Exactly. He's just so into himself. It's great. He's like your stereotypical Hollywood director, and his supporting cast around him is just incredible.
Okay, so this is going to be a theme throughout the movie, but this cast is loaded. It is loaded with top-notch actors doing acting things because they've been given an amazing script. So William H. Macy, he's a gift, and he's so awesome here. You're exactly right.
He's the best written character, I think, in the whole movie, actually. I think he has the best lines. I think so.
He has the best lines. That's for sure.
One of my favorite lines is, "It's not a lie. It's a gift for fiction." I just feel like his character has got more to it than everybody else because he has to be different people for other people.
Right.
He's like an actor in himself as a director.
Right.
Yes.
He has to act one way with Sarah Jessica Parker's character and act another way with Alec Baldwin and one with the writer. So he's constantly, you don't know who he really is because he keeps on changing who he is depending on who he's with. Yeah, he's a chameleon. Yeah, so that's why I think he's the best written character because he's just got so much for him to do. And the lines are the funniest in the movie. Whenever I crack up, it's something that he's done.
That's very true. He does have the funniest lines throughout the movie. It's for sure.
He calls like Sarah Jessica Parker's character the Broad.
The Broad.
But then when he sees her, he's like her best friend. It's those type of things, But he tries to be everybody's friend. He'll snap at you if you're not doing what he needs you to do.
Can we get this guy replaced?
The one whose wife's about to give birth.
Thanks for the update.
Yes.
Your wife's on line 1. I don't have a wife.
Yes.
It's never come out and expressly said why they were removed from New Hampshire, other than the fact.
I think we know why. Yeah,
we know, but it's never come out and said because the one guy whispers it to the other, and they're holding the mill hostage.
They want a lot of money.
They kind of mention it later on in the film when they we don't want to have another thing that happened in New Hampshire. So they already allude to it very, very strongly.
What does he want in his room? 14-year-old girls.
Yes.
Give him half a 28-year-old.
Right. But it's funny, too, because these directors have to deal with these actors and actresses that have those weird quirks and attitudes and stuff. There's actors out there that are like actually Alec Baldwin. So it's kind of reality versus fiction here. It's well written. It's a very Mamet. I mean, it's David Mamet. Come on. If you're listening to this podcast and you don't know David Mamet, you need to do a little research on Mr. Mamet, and you will be very, very happy on what you find.
He is amazing, and like pretty much all of his stuff, you could see this being a play on Broadway.
Easily, very much so, yes. But that's obviously very common with David Mamet's stuff that can transfer over to a movie, a book, a playwright, or an off-Broadway or an on-Broadway play, clearly. Actually, I'm surprised this wasn't made into a Broadway play.
Very surprised.
Yeah.
I mean, he's like Eugene O'Neill. He's amazing.
I mean, I brought up Best Little Whorehouse in Texas earlier, which was obviously on Broadway.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, I saw it on Broadway with Anne Margaret.
Did you
did
really?
in Chicago.
Wow.
Yes, I saw it with
Very
Anne Margaret. And guess who played Burt Reynolds' character?
Who?
If I say the name Gary Sandy, do you know who that is?
It sounds familiar.
Gary Sandy is on WKRP in Cincinnati.
Yes.
The program director.
Yes, he is.
So
Gotcha.
he played the sheriff. And it's interesting because I saw the movie first, and then I see the Broadway play, and I'm like, you know what? They did a very good job. And you could say the same with State and Maine. This would make a great Broadway production.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Clearly. I would love
Yeah.
to see it. Not going to
yeah.
happen, but I'd love to see it.
Was Mamet also, was he a starter of the Steppenwolf Theater?
I do not know.
That
Being
would,
from Chicago, I would not be surprised.
it wouldn't surprise me in the
Yeah.
least. For the amount of characters that are running around in this, they all have meaning. And they all have a place. Even the minor characters have their own little thing that they're doing.
One of the things I thought was funny was the two guys that sit in the restaurant
Yes.
just shooting the shit. By the end of the movie, they're reading Variety and discussing movie grosses.
Yes.
I think that's kind of funny.
They're just friends of David's.
Yeah.
That he just threw in the film.
That's awesome.
I guess they would be like the Greek chorus. They're just like, they're there.
But they're
And-
evolving. That's the kind of thing. They're evolving,
yeah.
and they're just like, they're just sitting
Right.
here talking about a stoplight and a pothole in the street, and what do
Why
we?
don't you go fix the pothole?
What do we need a new stoplight for? And now they're, have you seen the grosses on Gandhi too? And they're
Gandhi
reading
too.
Variety. It's just so subtly placed in there. It's beautiful. It really is.
One of the things that I caught the second time around is one of the production assistants, she's walking around giving coffee all the time, and her t-shirt changes all the time.
Yes.
And then the one t-shirt says, "But we don't need an old mill, do we?"
Right. He's like, take it off now. Yes.
I will say the two guys in the restaurant or whatever that place
It's a
is, I guess,
restaurant.
diner.
It's a restaurant,
Diner.
yeah.
It's a little diner restaurant, yeah.
That's horrible acting. There's some
Well-
bad acting in this movie, unfortunately.
Come on
But
now.
see, I think it's supposed to be bad acting. I really
Yeah.
do.
And I'll give them a pass because of what they're supposed to do. And it is funny that the pothole is kind of like comes in and out throughout the whole
Yes.
film.
You
'Cause
always
it's
hear
gonna-
just boom, boom.
Right.
Yes.
because you know it's going to play a big part later on. But my biggest problem is Joseph Turner-White and Anne's relationship. I actually think this is not one of the best Philip Seymour Hoffman acting jobs. And I love this movie, but I feel that they're a little bit on the stale side. And it's funny, interesting, because
I
Rebecca
disagree.
Pidgeon is actually married to David Mamet. And they actually been married like almost 10 years before they even did this film. And I guess she has a British accent, I guess. I guess she spends a lot of time in Britain, but she had to use her English accent for this film. And maybe that's why I feel like the acting is a little bit on the weird side. It's because the delivery is very,
I think
it's very
she's supposed to. I won't say bland, but she's very to the point and
Yes.
direct, and I think that's the way she's supposed to be.
you know what she reminds me? She reminds me of a Vulcan in Star Trek, where there's like very limited motion because
I'll
she
take
doesn't
your word
show a
for it.
lot of emotion throughout the movie.
She's even keeled throughout the whole movie. She's the only character that's even keeled. Every
But
other
yeah.
character has massive ups and downs, and she's the only one that's straight across.
A lot of stuff happens to her more than almost anybody else. I mean,
But she
her
takes
and her
it in stride.
fiancé break up.
She
You
breaks
know.
it off, though.
Yeah, she breaks it off just on a whim. Earlier in the film, she seems like she's still kind of really into her boyfriend. And within 12
Yes,
hours, it's over.
She seemed, well, here again, now if you listen, the two guys say she could do better than him. She realizes that when Philip Seymour Hoffman's character comes along. And she's like, well, I have much more in common with this guy, and I really like him. So she calls it off immediately. I think she's very decisive. I think that's the whole point. I think she's one of the central figures of the movie. She's the only constant, the only person who never gets too high, never gets high, never gets low. She's a constant, straight across the board character. I disagree with you. I think
well, it makes you
I think
question
Philip
why
Seymour-
she was with him. Why was she with him in the first place? If she didn't like
because
him,
she was
why?
settling.
Yeah, I didn't really see any love between them. It was very,
No,
you
And
know,
she was
but she doesn't seem like a gold digger,
no.
trying to
No.
No,
hitch
she's
her wagon
very
up to a
happy.
guy who's got some congressional
Yeah, no,
attributes.
she's very happy with who she is. I think she's the only person in the movie that actually likes who she is.
It depends on how you like your love interest or your love couple, because they're the main couple here in this movie. The movie surrounds them. If you want to
Right.
talk about the movie surrounding two characters, it's them. And I don't know if there's enough chemistry between the two for me to really buy into it.
I disagree.
I think the lines are great. The way that their characters are written is really cool. However, I don't see the attraction. I see it, I guess, a little bit more on the Philip Seymour Hoffman end than I do on her end. So I don't know. It's just, for me, it's a little bit stale. It doesn't kill the movie because I still love this movie. And I do like her character in general, just for the reasons why you just stated. It doesn't scream out romance to me.
I don't think it's
And
supposed
to be a romance, and this is supposed to be a romantic comedy.
That's an interesting.
Is it supposed to be a romantic comedy?
Yeah, because your top two leads are one that are falling in love with each other.
Is it?
Yeah,
who classifies it? Is it just you classifies it as a romantic comedy? Or?
Think about what throughout the whole movie. What does everything go back to? It goes back to their relationship. At the end of the movie, what is the big thing that's dividing his decision to tell the truth? It's his love for her and the expectation she has for him.
Well, and then she brings out that in him.
Exactly. It's a romantic comedy because she brings out the best out of him.
I wouldn't classify this necessarily as a romantic comedy. I would classify it as a dramedy.
I don't see a dramedy at all at this because I don't see any drama really in this movie. It's consistently played for laughs. It's consistently tongue-in-cheek. There's no seriousness in this movie.
Yeah,
at all.
It is tongue-in-cheek. I would agree.
Yeah, but it's satire, just like most of Mamet's work.
What's the serious part about this movie that makes it a dramedy? A drama?
Well, the whole making of the movie.
But they play it for laughs almost for every single second of the movie.
That's satire.
Then I would go with satire. I wouldn't call this a dramedy in any type of. But I mean, again, I still like their characters. I just don't buy the romance part of it. That's all I'm saying. I think she says some great things. In fact, I quoted her line about, fun is something that you make, and if it's not something you make, it's entertainment. I think those type of lines are great lines. Things like, can we go on the swing? She goes, that's what it's there for. It's the simple. She points out the obvious out of everything.
Right. She owns the printing press, the printer shop, and it's just, I don't know. I'm a huge Philip Seymour Hoffman fan. I won't deny that at all.
And sure, he's a great actor. I've seen him in better stuff than this as far as acting wise.
He's still amazing. I have a hard time disliking him in anything he's ever done.
And at that time this film came out, I don't believe he was like what he became to be.
This would have been around the time of Almost Famous, but this is not
Philip Seymour Hoffman?
Yeah.
At the time this came out, he wasn't a big name yet. He was a steady actor who had done a number of films. When I think of him, I think of Patch Adams at that particular time.
Oh, no. At this time, I think of him as Lester Bangs from Almost Famous.
See,
not Patch Adams.
I don't
Patch
think
Adams is a mediocre...
Didn't Almost Famous come out in 90?
I think...
No, 99, wasn't it? It's 2000.
Yeah, 99
okay,
or 2000.
Yeah. So right around this time.
So he's Lester Bangs. No, he's awesome here. I think he does an amazing job. I think the love part of this it's definitely a major part of the movie, but it's not the most major part of the movie. I think the movie within the movie is the MacGuffin of the movie that keeps everything rolling. I think it works.
I like that, the movie within the movie.
I think that's part of the beauty of this, is that they fall in love, but it's not one of those overly dramatic fall in love, like they're gushing over each other. And because I think it's funny that they keep getting interrupted every time they try to kiss. And then it pays off in the end. Because that is a movie trope that is way overused. But here, Mamet uses it perfectly.
Well, think about this love she has for him. I mean, it's almost unconditional. She catches him with a naked woman in his room.
Right.
And his story is so and even he's like, "You believe this?"
You know, believe
he's like,
it, right?
Yes. And she's like, "Yes."
She knows. She just knows that that's her person, and because they get each other on such a different level than the guy who's running for Congress, who actually stars in almost a lot of the Marvel stuff. Yeah, no, I think it works great. I love her character. I think she's straightforward. She knows what she wants, and she gets it. But yeah, I love William H. Macy's assistant too, the black guy.
Yes.
I think
Yeah.
he's funny too.
Could have seen more of him. He just
I-
pops in and out here and there, but he kind
Yeah,
of
he's does what he's supposed to do, but he's like the person who gets him everything,
Yeah, and validates everything too,
right?
and answers questions.
Well, they work together as one. They seem to be really on the same page. They joke about the associate producer credit. It's gonna,
Oh yes, yeah,
and then they do that secret handshake that they do.
yes.
Yeah.
And this is where I love Philip Seymour.
I do
Hoffman's
love the
character.
associate producer credit
Yeah,
gag.
it's awesome. Yeah,
At the end of the movie, on the credits, they said that if to write them
Yes.
if you want a list of who was the associate producer
Yeah.
on this.
and this is where I like Philip Seymour Hoffman's character because he's always asking people who are walking around the set questions, and he asks the one lady, "What's an associate producer?" And she responds, "Well, that's what you give your secretary when you don't want to give her a raise."
Right.
Actually, it's actually the guy that actually is expecting a child.
That's right. Yeah, that's
It's him
right.
that actually says that. Which I feel bad for that character because throughout the whole movie, he's just trying to balance his wife's pregnancy and doing his job.
But it pays off at the very, very end.
Oh yeah,
because
and
he's
we'll talk
wearing
about it.
because he's wearing a badge that says it's a girl. And this is the thing with Mammoth. There's nothing left untied up.
I'm going to disagree with you on that because there's a couple of things that I would have loved to see pay off at the end. I would like to know why the Huskies there didn't win a championship in that one year. They really never say.
But that's it's hilarious
But
because you don't know.
That's what I mean.
Yeah, yeah.
You can only
What happened in
guess.
1975?
And because
That's what I
Philip
wanna know.
Seymour Hoffman's character asks,
Yes,
and the guy doesn't really answer him
he gets
Right.
interrupted.
because nobody wants to talk about it.
I wonder.
See, and then the other joke is that they talk about the person who went crazy and burned, a bunch of things down to the
That's
ground. Right?
hilarious too.
Yes.
I actually think it's the doctor. I think the doctor did it.
That wouldn't surprise me.
He kind of fits the age at that particular time frame, and the way he talks at the end of the movie. He's
Yes.
like, "Don't trust anybody with the bow tie."
Exactly.
So-
It's hilarious.
I
Which made me
wonder if
think of
that's
you,
it.
Eric, because you don't
Right.
like people with bow ties.
Ken Rosenthal.
Yeah, you don't
No.
like bow ties, so
I don't like former Senator Paul Simon of Illinois. Nope.
Yeah.
Don't like bow ties. Can't trust them.
Pee Wee Herman?
Maybe. Pee Wee Herman. Oh, you can't trust Pee Wee Herman. Come on. I love
No.
Pee Wee Herman, but you can't trust him. That guy's there's a great documentary on Pee Wee Herman. It's going to be coming out in the near future.
I'll be
Really?
excited to see that.
interesting.
Yes.
Hey, Eric, why don't you go into the build since we've already kind of gotten into that a little bit here.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard not to in this movie. Let's be honest. It kind of has one big flow. All right, the build. When the film stars Bob Berenger and Claire Wellesley arrive, production kicks in and problems begin. Bob has a thing for underage girls, which local teenager Carla Taylor proves quite effective at exploiting. Claire suddenly balks at doing her agreed upon nude scene, and Doug McKenzie is determined to squeeze top dollar from the production. Isn't that like the McKenzie brothers, Strange Brew, Doug
Thought
McKenzie?
of that
Yeah.
all the whole time.
Well, I thought about the George Bailey one. Is from
Yeah.
Exactly.
It's
Gee,
Wonderful
Mr.
Life.
Potter, yeah.
Yep.
Aggressive producer Marty Rosen arrives to apply his inimitable powers of persuasion. Marty plays the bad cop to Walt's good cop, taking issue with Claire and her agent, keeping an eye on Bob, tangling with Doug, and getting pages out of Joe. Marty also pays a courtesy call to the mayor and his wife Sherry, who plan an exclusive dinner honoring the town's famous guests. After Joe rises to Claire's defense during a brutal discussion with Marty about her nude scene, the actress goes to Joe's hotel room to express her gratitude. When Anne arrives unexpectedly, Joe struggles to explain the situation to her and is amazed that she trusts him enough to believe him. Anne lets him know on her way out that she has broken off her engagement with Doug. I do love that scene where Marty's talking to Claire's agent on the phone.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, that
And
is
then
great.
And the
he's-
best of the misses,
he's
right?
ripping him up one side and down the other. And
Yes,
he
yes.
says, "Give your wife my best."
Right at the end, yes.
He's my second favorite character in this whole movie, and that's why Marty and Walt they going back and forth. I mean, I love that. This is what really draws me into this movie is these two characters right here. Just the fact that they have the best lines to say, and just like how you just said, he just goes off on the agent, and then he says something nice at the end, like this is a normal thing that he does.
Is he an attorney too, or does he just
Yes,
play
he
one?
says he is.
You walk
You
around,
walk along with the statutes of rape on you? No, you travel. You travel with the statutes of rape. Yes, it's great. I guess with that character, you have to, right? With
David Paymer is an underrated actor.
he is. Yes,
I think of him. I think of the American President.
he's one of those that guys.
He's one of those guys actors. But in everything that he does, he's really good. And given this dialogue and everything, this really makes him shine. And he plays perfectly with William H. Macy.
Yes.
And I don't know this to be a fact, but I'm sure if you went and pay David Paymer's history, I'm sure he spent time either off Broadway or doing plays.
Well, I would not be surprised. Yeah,
his timing is perfect with William H. Macy, and it's just it everything pays off throughout the entire movie. Yeah, it's hilarious. He is a great character. It's not built up, but it's kind of built up that he's gonna show up on set.
Yes, they know he's coming,
and
he's on his way, right?
Right. And because he's kind of like the fixer, the wolf character from Pulp Fiction.
He's the money guy too. He's the one who gets to. I like the. We didn't talk about this, but he tries to work in the the computer thing. The what is it? What do they call it?
Product tie-in.
Product tie-in. Yes, and he's like, it's from the 1880s. How are we going to work this in? Yes.
So just wanted to bring up David Paymer's resume here. I'm not going to go through all these movies, but I will say he was nominated
he's been in everything
for Academy Award for Best Supporting Actor for Mr. Saturday Night. I believe he played agent.
Yeah, he did. I didn't know he was nominated.
Yeah.
Wow.
He's been in some really good films. Like I said, The American President, Nixon, City Hall. I mean, if you look at his resume, it's just a list of big movies and small budgeted movies. He's probably got like 70 credits on here easily, if not more. So he's
still working, isn't he?
He's 70 years old, and he came out with a new movie last year called Bad Shabos, whatever that is. And he's also done a lot of TV.
Yeah, I've always seen him on TV.
Lots of TV.
A lot of TV, yes.
So if you add those TV credits on there, you're talking like probably easily 200 credits on board. And he's directed some films, some stuff as well. He's directed a few episodes of Everwood, One Tree Hill, Grey's Anatomy.
Wow.
Gilmore Girls. He's done it everything. Melrose Place. Wow. I mean,
he's a 90s man.
Yeah, I mean, the guy has really been all over, and I'm sure he's done some stage too, the way that he acts.
Yeah.
It'd be incredible if he didn't. He's kind of a natural on that. And I agree with you guys from what you said earlier. Why isn't this a play? Why did this never come out as a play? As is a play I would go see. It's a very simple movie to make as a play.
Yeah, there's no massive setup or set pieces or anything like that you'd really have to worry about. One of the side characters that we haven't even mentioned is the cinematographer who wants to break out the window.
Yeah, it does break out the window.
He does.
Yeah.
He ends up doing it. You have to pay attention because it's Amy who is taking Philip Seymour Hoffman's character around the town, and she says, well, the only thing that's worth anything in this town is that stained glass window.
Right.
And then he breaks out the window. So funny.
So they don't give him much of a choice because the director says that he has to still make the shot, even though he doesn't want to do anything to the window, which, I mean, his character is okay. It's a throwaway character.
But it's funny. It could just be somebody that you just throw away. But here he has something particular that he does. And
they have to make
funny.
That character interesting because outside of that, there's really nothing.
There's no reason for him to be there.
Exactly.
And that's the thing. But he's the cinematographer of the movie.
He's a little flamboyant. He's a little out there. It's like
right.
I like the opening scene where they wake him up and they're like, "Wake him up, give him a cigarette." I mean, it's the stereotypical cinematographer.
He has to be there.
Yeah,
and it's somebody that could just be wallpaper, but he's not wallpaper. He has a particular thing that he's responsible for, and he breaks out the window.
What I really like about this movie is nobody kind of outshines really everybody. Everybody's kind of like equal billing. So you got Alec Baldwin and you got Sarah Jessica Parker. These are two huge names at the time. Their stars kind of brought down to everybody else's playing field. You have about 10 actors that are kind of like listed on the cover of the movie. So basically all 10 actors basically have equal parts almost.
Well, yeah, and I mean, when you talk about heavy hitters, William H. Macy is probably the heaviest hitter. Fargo is not too far in his past.
Isn't Fargo 1990?
No, it's 93, I want to say.
It's a little after? Okay.
And that's as close to a perfect movie as you can possibly get. And he's perfect in that movie. And that really shot him into, okay, we need to take notice of this man.
Fargo's 96.
96.
So we're real close here.
4 years. Yeah.
So Alec Baldwin is I guess if you want to say the biggest star, but he doesn't come off that way.
That's what I'm saying. He doesn't have his stars overshine everybody else. If they have a small part, they have a meaningful part where it's so important that they don't need additional screen time. And you could actually say that Alec Baldwin's character actually kind of takes a back seat a little bit to other people in this movie. Like,
until he doesn't.
Until he doesn't, yes, but it's well written though. He's kind of a background noise, if you will, early on, but then obviously after the car accident, he's a little bit main. Yeah.
One of the scenes that I really like, and it's the scene that I think you came really to an end when you were discussing the middle, when you were reading the middle, Eric, and that's where Amy's character comes to Philip Seymour Hoffman's room, and this whole sequence is probably my favorite sequence because she
I like Jewish men. Why? I think you know why.
She comes to the room. Sarah Jessica Parker is naked in Philip Seymour Hoffman's bed. Philip Seymour Hoffman's character is trying to keep Amy from coming in the room.
Right.
And the look on his face when Amy comes into the room and Sarah Jessica Parker's not on the bed, and then she keeps going to the different places around the room. And it makes you wonder, where did she go?
Probably under the bed.
Probably under the bed or in a closet. And it's so funny because you feel his tension. And then as Amy's walking away, finally, after she's accepted the fact that he has a naked woman in his room,
Think about that. She's walking around topless in the room, but yet during the beginning of the movie,
exactly,
she doesn't want to have the nude
be
scene.
Topless.
Right.
It's so great. But as Amy's walking down the hall, Julia Stiles' character comes out of
the other room.
Berenger's room.
Yes.
Played so perfectly. And it's one of those things that could be in a play.
And she was so naive, thinking that he was like her one love, right?
She was not naive.
No, she was calculated.
She's calculated.
She was calculated, but then when she catches him with the other, what's her name's character?
With Sarah Jessica Parker's character.
And she changes her tune.
Oh, because she gets mad.
She's mad.
But she has no delusions that she's his one true love or anything. She's totally playing him for everything.
Well, she knows that he's into the younger generation.
She read up, the younger generation.
And to see her with somebody that's much older than her, she's probably thinking, wait a second, why her? So I just think it's more of a ego.
She's mad. And no, it's hilarious.
Born of a vengeful woman.
We have the Doug character, Doug. And it's a good little foil character.
He's a useful idiot.
He is a useful idiot.
Well, I don't know if I would say an idiot. I think he's
if you want to run for
smart.
Senate, maybe you should fix the pothole first.
Yeah, right.
But I don't think he's an opportunist.
Of course he is.
Yes, but I like it. So we're happy when she dumps him. Well, first of all, he kind of dismisses her for his own career. His career is the only thing that matters to him. She's kind of a secondary thing. I mean, he doesn't really take the breakup. It seems like he's just
at first,
care. It comes off being like, I mean, a little disappointing, but yeah, it is what it is type of deal.
He's probably thinking long-term of his political career.
He does this regardless if she breaks up with him or not.
Well, you think that he's just out for the 3%?
Yes, because he's talking about that even before they break up. He's talking about how much you can get from a movie because he goes to the mayor's house
It went from 3 to 5. It went up.
Yeah,
Right,
and he's
right.
like trying to get, and they have that little secret
I
meeting
love
in
the
the movie.
mayor too.
I would love to hear what that meeting was about when he tried to bring him to tell him what they can offer him, because I think we could work something out. And they had this little brief
They
meeting.
gave him the $800,000.
No, this is earlier. This is in the mayor's house when he's talking about the gross of the percentage of the gross. We don't get to hear that portion of that meeting.
Yeah, he calls him aside.
He gets mad and calls him cheap and things of that nature.
Right.
Well, and the reason that's funny is because here again, if you catch Charles Durning's character talking to William H. Macy's character about the permit for the Main Street, and he goes, "Well, you need a permit." And he goes, "But that has to go through the city council." And William H. Macy says the city council. And he goes, "Well, you don't have to worry about it. I'm the city council."
Right.
So Doug's character goes to the mayor and says, "We need to have a meeting with the city council," and then they go off into the room to talk about it. Everything is tied, and it's hilarious. And you have to watch this movie multiple times to get everything, because
it's jokes. Yes,
it's hilarious. We really haven't even talked about Charles Durning's character. He's funny as the mayor. And of course, then Patti LuPone, my God, how many more plaudits could you give somebody like Patti LuPone? I mean, how many Tonys has she won?
Tony.
She's so funny because she completely tears out the entire part of her house to reset it back to 1883.
Just to have them blown off for the dinner. Yeah,
exactly. And they're dressed in like that Scottish
outfit.
Yeah. And she's like, "Don't even touch it."
Yeah, don't even eat.
And here again, a character that could be just thrown away, but she's given one particular thing, and she excels at it. And I guess she's worked with Mamet many times.
Yes,
oh, sure. Times. Oh, yes.
I think everybody had worked with Mamet at one point or another in this movie.
Julia Stiles?
I think so. Yeah, she had been in something before.
Yeah, I'm not sure about Julia Stiles, but I would disagree a little bit with the Charles Durning character. I love Charles Durning. I've said this multiple times, he's my favorite character actor of all time. I think out of all the parts in this movie, they use Charles Durning the least to his ability. It's an okay character, but it's also another throwaway character. Well, that's what I'm saying. An actor like Charles Durning, there's so many movies that we've covered with him in it, and we're going to actually have our next movie is "Oh Brother, Where Art Thou," which came out the same year, and he elevates that character in that movie. He shines. Well. I don't feel like he shines in this movie like other people do, which is fine. I just don't. You said he was really funny in this movie. I just don't see the funniness of this character. It's just kind of there.
I disagree. I think that his character is exactly what is supposed to be.
Yeah, I'm not saying that, but if
we got more of him, it wouldn't be nearly as funny. The stuff that he does and the way he acts, I think Charles Durning does a hell of a job here. I think he plays it absolutely perfect as a small town mayor. I love it. Like, well, I am the city council.
I think the best parts of him is when he's dealing with his wife, because his wife
that's funny too. Yeah,
is when when she's dictating everything that needs to happen, and he just gets out of her way because whatever she says is going to go. Right. It's kind of stupid that they don't remember dinner with the mayor. That's something that I would think
it gets wiped off the board.
It gets wiped off the board, but it gets moved to the wrong day.
Exactly.
But I figured that would have been something that would have been easily discussed on the side, because the mayor seems like a reasonable guy. It's not like she could not have them over the next day, but then they're all vindictive against him.
She brought in caterers and
everything.
I
mean, all the food was made. Everything was there's like a staff of people to serve the food.
Yeah,
I'm sure that the movie company would have.
And she takes it personally. She's like, I want him arrested. I want him killed.
Yeah.
But no, I understand what you're saying. Yeah, he does what he's supposed to do. But I don't think he does anything more to it. And, he doesn't really need to. This movie has enough characters in it. You don't want every character to be, like, downright, like, the best character ever written. Because, it takes away...
That's not what I'm saying.
Well, but you're saying that he's really funny here, and I just don't see where he's really funny.
The stuff that he does is funny.
Well, H. Macy's character is funny.
Yeah.
Baldwin's funny. There's other characters that are more funny than Charles Durney's character here. I know you get frustrated by that I say that, and this is one of my favorite movies of all time.
I agree with you, Ken. I don't think he was used to his full, utmost comedic value in this type of movie. He's kind of a side character. I mean, he's needed, yes, but he's kind of filler. Really, anyone could have played his character. They definitely could have used him a lot more.
I don't know.
I'm not exactly sure where Ted's coming from, thinking that he's eccentrically funny.
I think that every character here is written just to do what they're meant to do, and I think the people who play the characters they elevate what could just be somebody who's wallpaper.
He's not wallpaper. I didn't say he was wallpaper. No.
Patti LuPone is only in the movie for maybe like not even 5 minutes, but you remember her.
Yes, because she's like a little dictator trying to get her house ready for this dinner. That is her thing in life right now, is this dinner.
Yeah, and like the lady who plays the costume designer, and William H. Macy's character says, "Who designed these costumes?" It looks somebody threw up, and then the throw up but the look on her face as she walks away to redo it, I don't know. I think it just everybody fits the puzzle.
Well, I know.
It looks faggy,
perfectly.
but not homosexual.
Right, That's so funny too.
I know Ken's love of Charles Durney, so you definitely want him to have more of a vital role in this movie.
Yeah, yes. I would like to have seen more. Like I said, Oh Brother, We're Out There, which we'll review next. And it's not the biggest role in that movie, but he takes it to another level. We were talking about Best Little Whorehouse in Texas. When he does that musical number, he shines like there's no tomorrow. He makes Burt Reynolds and Dolly Parton take a back seat based on what he does in that movie.
See, but that's the beauty of this movie, is that nobody really outshines anybody.
But I said that earlier, and I agreed to you to a certain extent. Charles Durney's character is not even close to where William H. Macy's character is at, or even Alec Baldwin's character is at, as far as being invested into that character. And I just would like to have seen a little bit more investment into that type of character. That's all. It's not bad. Like you said, he does what he's supposed to do. And not every character can shine. It's just Charles Durney is one of my favorite actors of all time. And to say that he was extremely funny in this movie, I'm just going to be like, I don't know about that.
I guess what I'm saying is he's great at what he does here.
Because he's a great actor.
Right. I think that's the key here, is that this movie is full of great actors. This ensemble cast is phenomenal. It's one of the best ensemble casts that we've covered. And we've covered some very good ensemble casts. This is elevated to another level. And that's a credit to Mamet, but it's also a credit to everybody who plays here.
And the nice thing about it is you got the big names, the big cast. The no-names work beautifully together in the movie.
Right.
It all just flows so well.
I think the reason for that is they want to work with a writer-director that they respect so much that egos get pushed to the side and everybody's on an equal playing field, like I said earlier.
I mean, who would have ever thought Alec Baldwin would have played a pedophile who likes underage girls? And we haven't even talked about The Wreck.
Are you being sarcastic about that comment?
No.
Because I picture Alec Baldwin playing that character very well.
Dear
no,
God.
I definitely. If you told me there was a Hollywood celebrity that was convicted of some type of underage sex act, and you told me it was Alec Baldwin, I'd be like, I'm not terribly surprised.
His brother,
Stephen? Yeah, yes.
Because he's way, way too fake Christian-y now. He plays it perfectly, and he's funny. I like Alec Baldwin. I'm not going to lie to you. I think he's a really good
I love Alec
actor.
Baldwin's comedic timing. He's a great... His politics are a little out there. His attitude's a little out there. But his acting is top tier.
He's got a
little bit of a temper. But
may have murdered someone. I don't know. But his acting is...
he didn't murder anybody.
His acting is top tier.
But some of the movies that he did could be grounds for murder.
That's why he's one of the best Saturday Night Live hosts of all time. I mean, the Sweaty Balls is one of the best Saturday Night Live sketches of all time.
Yes. And he was good Trump. He did a good Trump impersonation.
He did a very good Trump. He's so good here because it's the subtle things, and that's why I think he's a great actor. It's the subtle things that he does. It's the look. looks, and it's the, like, when Julia Stiles' character comes into the room, she catches his eye. And this is why
And everyone else in the room also realizes that he's like, no, no.
Exactly. Yes. It's so funny. And the pothole pays off. They talk about the pothole, and then you see somebody splash in the pothole. And you're like, oh, that's all that the pothole is going to play. But then the pothole becomes its own character here. It completely flips the car over. It's so perfect. We need to get her out of here. When Philip Seymour Hoffman's character, what do you mean? He goes, no, we need to get her out of here. And he just tells her to leave the scene.
I'm not sure why that's funny to you, but okay.
He does seem to like it.
It's hilarious. Oh my God, how is it not funny?
Hilarious?
Because it's about rape? I mean...
Oh, no, it's not. Yeah, and we're talking about Ted here. No, it's not really about rape. She's just in the car with him.
Yeah, I don't know how that's funny.
I'm sure she's
the statutory rape happened earlier in the day.
I'm sure she's probably blowing him. I mean, let's be honest.
Oh, no. That would have been up. No.
I thought she was.
Absolutely. She's in the passenger seat. He was drunk. Clearly drunk.
Right. And the way he plays it with Philip Seymour Hoffman's character, Philip Seymour Hoffman's character is playing it completely straight. And Alec Baldwin's character is funny.
I don't see how this is funny at all, because I think Alec Baldwin's playing it straight too. How is this funny in any type of way? You have to leave. You need to get out of here. He's trying to protect himself because he knows he's in trouble if anybody comes and sees it.
The whole situation is hilarious. And because it's building to that. We know what's going to happen. They were kicked out of New Hampshire because of him.
Yeah, I get that.
We know something big is going to happen, and then it happens.
But I don't see where it's funny. It's a plot turn. I believe it helps the plot, in the movie, because we knew this was going to happen because it happened earlier, and he's going to get in trouble for doing it again. We know that. I just don't see where it's funny. In fact, some of it
they play it as funny.
I didn't see it. Eric didn't see it.
Macy's character and David Paymer's character, they play it as funny.
I'm not saying they don't, but I don't think Alec Baldwin plays it as funny. And even then, we got to be a little careful here because we're still talking about, being with an underage girl, which is disgusting.
It is disgusting.
And we got to be a little careful with having too much fun with that. I don't think they're looking for big laughs here. To be honest, I'm kind of surprised you find it as hilarious as you do.
I am also surprised that you find it that hilarious, to be honest with you. I'm not getting it. I really am not. It's a good scene, but I wasn't,
because all of these people,
I wasn't laughing during it though.
All of these people are doing everything they can to keep him from screwing up the set.
Right, and he does, right?
And then he does it.
I don't think it makes it funny, but it moves the plot where it's supposed to go.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, even afterwards, they're just coaching him to say that she wasn't in the car. But for me, that's not funny. That's disturbing, if anything.
Oh, my God.
That they're protecting their self-interest and stuff like that. It's disturbing in a good way.
That's funny.
Wow. This is like a reversal. You're Ted and you're Ken.
I don't know how I've never been in favor of statutory rape.
No, but that's what I'm saying.
I am not in favor of
Ted
it
is
either.
the one who would find this offensive.
I don't think I would find anything like this thing.
But yet he finds it hilarious.
It's not like laugh out loud hilarious, but it's so funny to me how Alec Baldwin's character is playing this off.
Are you saying funny like ironic funny? Irony funny?
Yeah, it's like, because everything's building to this, and because you know something's going to happen. You know he's going to screw this entire thing up. We know that that's why they were kicked out of New Hampshire. And here's the thing that's stupid, and it's caught by Philip Seymour Hoffman, who is just completely shocked by the whole thing. Alec Baldwin's character's drunk, but yet he's
And we know this is not the first time this has happened to him either.
Exactly.
Right.
And he's so trying to cover it up with Philip Seymour Hoffman. And he's doing such a terrible job of it. I don't know. And then you get everything that comes after it with David Paymer's character and William H. Macy, where they're just scrambling, trying to figure this all out.
But it's entertaining because it's a real thing that could happen on a movie set, and that they need to figure out a way to.
And Ted is
take care
right.
of it.
You knew that Bob was
Yeah.
going to screw up. It was
Exactly.
going to happen.
It's funny that it includes the pothole.
It's funny because it's not even the pothole and the car accident that actually caused all this. It's her seeing him with Claire later on that really is the reason why he gets in trouble. Without that,
because that's funny too.
you don't even have to have the car accident for that to even happen. That just shows up and she just starts saying that he raped me.
Right.
Or he took advantage of me is what
Exactly.
she says.
Which, if anybody took advantage of anybody, she took advantage of him.
I liked it when Claire was walking out of Bob's room saying, "You
Well-
can't make me come," or something else.
I mean, you could
Totally
say that-
emasculating him. It's like, that's great.
Exactly.
You could say she took advantage of him, but let's be honest, she's a minor. That no. And at the end of the day,
know.
it's him.
At the end of the way, yeah. I mean, no
I
matter
agree.
what the truth was,
If this was 12 Angry Men, and this was a complete serious movie,
You said it was a dramedy.
100%. But that's not what this is.
See, to me, this is the most serious part of the movie.
Oh
For
my
me.
God.
Something happened that they were trying to stop from happening. They knew it
Yes!
could possibly happen.
That's
And
what makes it
now
funny.
they're doing damage control. No,
Exactly.
I don't think it's funny. The more it's realistic. You have an
Oh my
actor
God,
that has a
it's
problem.
not- None of this is real. This is like you
You
talked
don't
about.
think actors get protected all the time?
Hey, 100%.
Alec Baldwin, let's talk about the
100
shooting there, right?
100% it happens. This movie, though, is not played that way. This movie
No,
is
it's
played as
satire, like you said.
satire. Okay, so yes, her character sets him up and plays him. They're in the car together, but then the pothole that has been talked about throughout the movie
since the first scene.
since the first scenes is the one that causes the accident. It's funny. I'm sorry. It's funny because you know he's going to fuck up, and he fucks up because of the pothole. And then everybody's reaction to it is so
It's just all damage control at that point.
yeah.
How do we cover this up?
Somebody asked David Paymer's character, "You walk around with the
Statutes
The
of rape
statutory
on
rape.
rape. Yes, yes.
That's funny. I don't care. It's funny."
Well, that's funny because he knows the character he has to work with.
Exactly.
Yes, and it probably not the only star he's had to do something with this
of
with.
course
It
not.
is. It's kind of just like a satire on the movie industry itself.
Yes.
It's David Mamet. I would expect nothing less.
Nothing
Nothing
less. He
less.
just pillories the entire idea of movie making. I mean, are you going to say that it's offensive that Alec Baldwin's character in the movie, within the movie, falls in love with a nun, and the nun is supposed to show her tits?
I'm not offended by that at all because
We haven't even brought that up. The whole irony of Sarah Jessica Parker is a nun who's supposed to show her tits.
Right.
Nothing here is off limits. Okay.
No, and I agree with you on that. Nothing here is off limits, but it doesn't make it like always funny. It's entertaining. It's interesting. Like, for instance, Marty and Doug go at it when he pins up against the wall and he kind of like tells them that he's going to basically, kick his ass, basically, because he doesn't know
And we
who he's
know
dealing with.
David Paymer's not going to kick anybody's ass.
Right.
Well, I don't know. He could definitely kick his ass. He's a little weasel. He wouldn't be able to
He
defend
is a
himself.
weasel. That's why he's
But he
funny
pins
too.
him up against the wall and he threatens him, and he's scared.
You can tell. Yeah.
He's definitely scared.
What does he say?
So-
Like, your family, your kids, your family, their kids, their family will live in bankruptcy or something.
Exactly. I'll break
Poverty.
that
I'll
from
live in
laws.
poverty for the rest of their lives.
And he was taking it seriously.
Yeah.
But
then
that's
Phil
fun.
Seymour
I wouldn't
Hoffman's
say
character
funny.
says, "I'm going to tell the truth," and William H. Macy's character goes, "I treated you like a nephew, or at least a
Nephew.
long lost nephew."
what I would classify some of the stuff that you
So
think is funny
funny.
as fun. There's a difference
Oh my
between funny and
God.
fun. I think this is a fun movie. This movie is, I don't think it's like downright out funny, but it's fun because of the lines that are used and the situations that are presented.
It
But
makes me laugh a lot harder talking about it because it's so absurd. And it's the absurdity of talking about it that's so funny. I mean, there are times where you just laugh out loud. And yes, you're shocked. Oh my God, Bob Berenger's character likes underage girls. And then he gets caught with one. And then the guy who's supposed to be the guy who's like, blah, 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 statutory rape and blah, blah, blah. And then all of a sudden, he gets paid off $800,000. He completely changes his entire tune.
Which
But
is
it's
great
not-
too.
it's
Yeah.
not absurd, though. That's what I'm saying here. Because if we take a look at someone like Kevin Spacey, for instance, great actor, it seemed like was well respected, but everybody knew that he had skeletons in his closet, and one day it came out, and his career was over. I mean, these things happen in Hollywood. So when I see a film like this,
yes,
it's not absurd.
everybody in Chicago, because Chicago was one of Kevin Spacey's hubs. Everybody in Chicago, in the community scene in Chicago, knew Kevin Spacey's
Done.
provocalities. They knew what he was up to, and it was a kept secret. That is horrible.
He would be perfect for this movie. He would have been better than Alec Baldwin in this particular flick. First of all, we know him from American Beauty, where he has a thing for an underage girl, and he plays it off extremely well there. So being in
Well,
this
we
type
could
of
debate
movie,
that if we ever do American Beauty.
I like that. But that's a movie that I've actually appreciated years after years and years after its
It's
release.
a great movie.
It's an incredible movie.
Had Kevin Spacey played Bob Berenger, this now all of a sudden this movie has a completely different tone.
For sure.
Alec Baldwin has never been accused of this. There's never been any close to any accusations of this in his past.
Except by Eric.
All of these people, right, exactly, except for Eric.
But
All-
I
all
could
of these-
see
all-
it. I
all
didn't
of
say
the-
he was accused. I'm just saying if someone told me, I wouldn't doubt it.
All of these actors are playing essentially out of characters. Sarah Jessica Parker has written it in her contract for Sex and the City that she would never show her tits and never be naked on screen. Nobody has ever accused Alec Baldwin. William H. Macy, by all accounts, is one of the nicest human beings ever put on film. And so everybody is kind of playing out of cast.
Of course.
It brings the absurdity and the satire and makes it funny. And talking about each of these little individual things makes it even funnier to me for some reason. Because it's so absurd. And that, I think that's the beauty of this movie.
One thing we haven't talked a lot about is the Jason Turner White character here is his writer's block. The fact that he's always in panic mode.
He's the most innocent character in the whole movie.
Because the movie's about purity. He's the movie, because he's kind of like that.
And even the woman he falls in love with is hip to everything that's going on.
Very pure.
Yeah, very pure. And she sees the pureness of him. And that's why I think when she sees him in the room with Sarah Jessica Parker's character naked, that's why she dismisses it. Because she knows that somebody who wrote this movie about being, pure and stuff like that, this isn't the guy that would do something like this. In Hollywood, that would really happen. But here,
I love that the name of his play is called Anguish.
Yeah, Anguish. Yes.
I read somewhere if you pause it and read the background, David Mamet went so far as details, is when she turns the book cover over, you can read what's written about his character.
Oh, really?
And that he's born in South Dakota. He went so far as to take that small thing and he wrote like an author's biography on the back of that book. That's the level of detail that goes into this Mamet work. I think that's why he's one of the greatest writers. Like I said, in my opinion, he's like Eugene O'Neill. He's amazing.
I like the interaction between Joseph Turner White and and Walt. First of all,
Every time.
Every time.
every time. Well,
Every
first
time
of all,
they're on screen together.
Joseph Turner White is like, first of all, he's like, I quit. Well, I don't know. I might have been fired. I mean, because at one time you have Walt. He's like getting mad at him, telling him to get out, and he's threatening him.
Right, the scene about the dead horse.
Yes.
And then later on,
You know, you don't get to kill the horse.
And later on, he's like, "We're a family. Tell me a family that doesn't fight." It's the
Do you need an old mill? And the movie's called The Old Mill.
Right, exactly. Yes.
I do like the interaction with him and in the fact that they work out those scenes together. I think it's, the fact that he comes up with the fact that she doesn't have to show her tits.
It's so great. It's so great.
Because everybody has seen him. We make him see it and his reaction to it.
What is it? They can draw him from memory.
But the other guy says...
She does a voiceover and she drops her shirt.
Right, yeah, a voiceover work.
Off for
voiceover work, yes.
And that's the other thing is you got the William H. Macy's in there with Sarah Jessica Parker, and they're talking about
some
bearing their soul,
England?
And there's really no point.
It's
like, did she do the show? No, but that's not the point.
Right,
I think you should. Yes. I think you should do the scene. So,
yes.
Oh my God, it's so funny.
Yes,
but he's like, let's talk, Larry. Just me and you, and everybody's gone. Well, it's like let's have girl talk or something. That's why I love the William H. Macy character.
Well,
it's so well written.
Wipe off the lilacs and then bring them back out in cellophane.
Right.
The town's all out of lilacs.
They're filling up the Evian water with tap water and resealing it.
And
with a
lighter. Yes, beautiful.
Yeah. These are the things that make this movie great.
Oh my God, it's little details.
Details, exactly. This is why I love this movie.
Great.
Because of the little things they do here and there. And to be honest with you, just the Marty and Walt characters are just so well written.
They are.
That they just carried this movie throughout beginning to end. Well, on that note, we probably should go to the Stick the Landing since we've touched a lot on
should.
Stick the Landing.
Yeah, we've talked about it.
I think it will. All right. So Joe witnesses Bob Berenger flipping his car over and hitting the town's traffic light, which we talked about nauseatingly long. Rushing over to help, Joe sees a dazed Carla crawling out of the car. Bob tells Carla to leave. Back to the hotel, they make Bob repeat that she wasn't in the car. It is not long before Doug learns the truth about the accident. Doug sets out to nail Bob and shut down the film. As the sole witness to the accident, Joe is wanted for questioning and challenges Joe to stand up for the truth, while Walt and Marty pressure him to put aside his convictions for the sake of the film and his career. With the fate of his colleagues and his own future hanging in balance, Joe must decide whether to face the situation with a pure heart or hope for a second chance. In the end, Marty and Walt bribe Doug with $800,000, which he takes to start his political career. And Joe are now free to express their love for each other, and the film gets completed within budget thanks to money from a strange tie-in.
Okay, so here again, I find it so uncomfortably amusing.
Uncomfortably amusing. That's great.
So they get Bob back to the hotel. And William H. Macy's character, David Paymer's character, they're in the hotel room, and a knock comes on the door, and it's the sheriff. And they immediately take Bob into the bathroom. And the interaction, the terror on William H. Macy and David Paymer's characters' faces as they're trying to come up with a story for Bob.
Was she 18, 19?
Yes, yeah, right.
She wasn't. People sneak into cars all the time.
Yes, car trunks. Yes.
Oh my God! And then it pays off in the best way possible. This innocent sheriff, all he wants to do is write him a ticket for knocking over the stoplight.
For damage to property.
The only stoplight in town.
Not for leaving the scene of a crime, though, mind you.
No, nothing about it. He just wants to write him a ticket for knocking over
and
the
then
stoplight.
after
and he's
that,
sorry about it.
Yeah, he's like, if there's anything I can do, yes. He's sorry about it, yeah.
Because it's so uncomfortable with the two of them, with Bob in that bathroom, because you think that he's screwed, but
It's really raining out there, officer.
It's really raining, and he's so oblivious to everything. He takes Anne away from Philip Seymour Hoffman's character too,
probably looking out for her, kind of like a fatherly
Yeah,
figure.
exactly. Because everybody in this town is so pure. All of these people, except for Philip Seymour Hoffman's character, they're
You're
so not.
naive. Yeah.
They're so not pure,
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
and it's so funny. The contrast. It's absurd.
I think that's why you had the movie called State in Maine, because they separate the two streets here, the two
Yeah.
avenues.
Well,
They're
and
both-
that's where the accident takes place. Is
State in Maine.
Right. And then Philip Seymour Hoffman is basically kind of a combination of both, but he's more like what they are there. He's that we talked
Yes.
about. He's
That's
the more
why
of the pure character.
You can see him when Anne takes him to the printers, and she says, "I want to reopen the newspaper."
Mm-hmm.
And of course, the newspaper has a very similar headline as to the Washington Post, that where truth dies in secrecy. The newspaper for the town it's something right out of the Constitution. You can see him taking over the paper and reopening the paper.
Yeah.
Well, she
can
basically
s-
says, a man to kind of
Exactly.
run it. I wish they would have done a sequel to this movie.
I know. This movie
I
is
do, because there's so
perfect.
many sequel tropes that they could have used, and he could have stayed there, and they could have demanded that they do the sequel there to get him to write it. And so that would have been my premise on the sequel, was that he did
you would have
stay.
had to have gotten everybody to come back.
I don't know if you would have to get everybody to come back, but I think
it would have had to have written it.
Matthew would have written it, and William H. Macy would have needed to be in it, yes. But you didn't necessarily need Alec Baldwin or Sarah Jessica Parker.
Different
But if you
actors
had-
and actresses, different movie.
Not necessarily Alec Baldwin and Sarah Jessica Parker, but everybody in that sphere
Right.
would have had to have come back, and it would have been written by David Mamet, because it wouldn't have landed the same way.
Because then, maybe we could find out what happened with the fires back in, and then maybe we could find out about the team in 19.
And whether or not the doctor was actually the
That would
person
have
who
been
did
fun
it.
to kind of find out those little things. If we could have had a little bit more hints of what might have happened to why that team didn't win that one year,
Yes,
instead of the one-off.
and maybe that was the doctor's fault too.
Maybe that's.
Maybe he got everybody sick.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I love the fact
but-
that the doctor's kind of like, don't trust anybody with the bow tie, and all of a sudden he goes from
Everybody
that
trusts him.
friendly doctor that everybody trusted, being like, well, what is this guy really?
Right.
And I think you could have done more with that. So that's probably the only knock I have on this movie.
And he's a famous
that.
character actor too. The part that I love too here in this end is the fact that Anne sets up the courtroom to be a fake courtroom, and Philip Seymour Hoffman's totally taken by surprise that it wasn't real. Because even I was wondering, is like, he's just giving deposition. He's not giving a test. He's not testifying in court yet. There's no court case yet. But he doesn't put two and two like that together because he's never had to experience anything like that. If we want to talk about where State and Maine meet, it's Philip Seymour Hoffman's character. He is the perfect combination of where State and Maine meet. Foot in the Hollywood section of State, but he's also pure like Main Street. It fits perfect that way. And I think they got the perfect guy to play the part. Because I love the look on Philip Seymour Hoffman's character when he ends up going back to the courthouse, what he thinks is the courthouse, and it's all broke down, and there's nothing. It looks nothing like what the place he walked into. It's great, and I want to know more about the play that they were gonna put on.
Oh, the one that was canceled?
Because everybody keeps giving lines to Anne, but then she has to cancel it because everybody's auditioning for extra parts in the movie within the movie. That's just another little side piece.
So the end of this movie, they get the $1 million from Bazoomercom.
Bazoomercom.
No, Bazoomercom offers them $1 million for product placement.
But what's only in the
where they're
bag
gonna
is $800,000.
That's
what
right.
they say.
Right.
Well, the $800,000 was what he needed for what, Claire's character
for her
yes.
to show her tits.
So she wanted the $800,000.
Right.
So she
Right.
never ended up getting the money because obviously she didn't have to show anything. So they were just going to use it for the production. But I think it's a cool tie-in. Bribe
Yes.
him with the $800,000, and you still get the money from Bazoomercom.
I wish they would have figured out something better than that. That is kind of awkward at the end a little bit, but I understand why they did it.
It's supposed to be.
Well, of
I know
course.
it's
How
supposed to
how
be.
else are you going to put it in a movie of the period piece?
Right,
Bazoomercom.
It's set in the 1880s, and it's bazoomercom.com.
I just wanted something just a tad little bit more funnier than that, but it works still. It
Yeah.
still works.
I love too when they're in the high school and Doug is doing his pre-TV thing, and they're like, he's sweating.
Yes.
He's got toilet paper on his face. He's like Richard Nixon at the 1960 debate.
Right,
He's
out of
just
broadcast news. Just
Exactly.
And if you had a sequel, he could have been even a bigger pain in the ass in the second one because he would have had more power because he did make it to a higher office. That would have been an interesting thing to do if they did a second one. What I liked about the Philip Seymour Hoffman character, well, I don't know if I would say I like, but the fact that he is so conflicted, and by the time he does, it's like I'm here to give myself up.
He thinks he's committed a crime.
Yeah.
He's committed perjury.
In a way, he would have.
He's
kind
like,
of, yes.
I'm here
In
to
a
give
way.
myself up, and the judge is like, "Well, you better, give yourself up to her. I'm going to go golfing."
Right? I'm going to go play golf.
But it's funny because Anne knows him, and Anne pretty much knows everybody, and not just in a small town, but she knows the judge. I'm sure she knows like people in. I mean, if she needed to, she probably could call in a favor. I like it where she goes, "I'll knit you a sweater."
Yeah, the
So that was
jumpsuit.
probably my favorite line from her in the whole movie.
I'm gonna go to prison. Well, I'll knit you
Just
a
sweater.
scarf.
Yeah.
I don't think I'm gonna need more than that. Oh, I'll knit you a jumpsuit.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. It's those little things. Like when she does that, I like it because of her deadpan delivery.
Yeah.
Her deadpan delivery doesn't work for me always in the film, but it works there because of the seriousness of it. And she just kind of she makes a joke in a deadpan type of voice. And I think that's where it works really the best.
It is.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that Julia Stiles' character got a part in the movie? Because they were working really hard to...
Yes.
I'm
To
sure
get
she
her
did.
to-
I'm sure she did.
Yes.
And I wonder if that's what she was angling for the whole time.
Yes. Because she wasn't at the
Possibly.
end there. She wasn't
Because-
in the crowd of people like those two guys. The old
Yes.
guys eating their crackers, eating the Jewish crackers.
Right. Oh, God,
that's-
everybody's.
That's the
eating
thing
Yeah,
that we
but-
didn't really talk about is the crackers. Everybody's eating the crackers.
The matzah crackers.
the
Yes.
Mazda
Yeah.
crackers.
That's also
Like
like the pothole kind of.
Yes, yes. Yeah, I think that's what ultimately she was wanting. And the guy who plays her dad, who runs the diner,
He's been in a lot of movies.
he's been in a lot of movies, and he is a magician. And he's been in Mammoth stuff before as well.
Yeah, a lot of Mammoth stuff.
What he adds is just enough just to be, well, she obviously was, she was studying at 9 o'clock.
You're grounded, Missy. Yes. It's like,
Exactly,
oh my
right?
goodness. He doesn't get the whole.
Doesn't
Doesn't understand
it
how
at all.
serious we're looking at here, does he?
What? You were out on,
Right.
you were out doing something other than studying?
Studying?
Oh,
Right.
Yeah, it
You're
doesn't
grounded, Missy. She's not naive.
Oh no!
Because
Oh no! She plays.
She's got this staked out amazingly. And I wonder what a tuna BLT is.
What the hell is bourbon and milk? Ugh.
I don't know. That does
Oh.
not sound good.
The one thing I would have liked to see at the end is maybe them all together at the mayor's house having that dinner.
At the end.
At the end. Could have been a nice little, way
I
just
don't
to
know.
end the film.
Having the mayor's wife stood up.
Stu-
after
or no,
she's
Stu-
complete-
Or she's
A
still
second
sitting there
time.
at the table.
She's still sitting at the table.
But-
Yes, that would have been funny.
Stand her up a second time,
Yes.
and she'd be like, "Son of a bitch" or something, you know.
And that's
Oh,
how you end the film.
Yes,
By
and
saying
she's the
that,
only
right?
one sitting at the table. Yeah.
But Patty LuPone.
Yeah.
She's been in so much. She was in the original cast of Cats, I believe, too.
Wasn't she just recently in Agathon All Along, the Disney one?
Oh, was she?
I think she
Uh,
was.
She's the person who originally sang Memory.
Memory.
I love that song. It's a good
Cats.
song.
Yeah, she was in Agatha All Along. She had a main role in that.
Okay. Yeah, I have to watch that. She's funny. Everything works like a well-oiled clock.
There's part of me that kind of wants Alec Baldwin to get a little bit in trouble into this.
No,
I don't know. Maybe have somebody chaperone. He has a chaperone.
He's on He's on
Yes.
probation or
On
something.
probation.
Yes,
yeah.
yeah. Some
Or no,
he has-
he's got to have like a foot collar around his. And every time he tries something, he gets zapped.
What would have been funny is if he had had somebody be his quote-unquote chaperone
Yeah.
who's an underage girl.
Right,
Oh,
right.
well, I don't know if that's not
That
defeats the
would
whole
have been-
purpose. Maybe the guy who's
Exactly.
expecting the baby now has to like move into his room to make sure that he doesn't do anything stupid, something like that. Because it just feels like he just got off on that, and that everything just
More ways than one.
yeah, very exactly.
That's the absurdity of it.
Let's hit the reviews. I think I know what Ted's review is. Let's go with Ken's. I'm curious. Since this is Ken's movie, he picked it.
This has been something that I used to watch all the time in the 90s. I mean, sorry, in the early 2000s. Like I said, I've already talked about the William H. Macy character. He is one of my favorite roles. I like this more than Fargo. No, for me, this is what really brought me to the William H. Macy front.
Okay.
I think his character just is the glue to this whole movie. Everything if there's a main character that everything kind of rolls around, it's him. Because of the fact that, like I said earlier, his character changes like a chameleon. He changes with whoever he's dealing with. And I think that drives the movie because of how he tackles each different person. Like how he, Claire or Philip Seymour Hoffman's character or Alec Baldwin's character. It's all different. He's never the same person with other people. So he's always somebody different. And I really appreciate that. Yeah, this is a great cast. This is good writing. I think sometimes the acting could be a little bit off, and that could be done on purpose, like Ted said earlier, because of the style of the movie. And sometimes you just have to get past that, which I have. Because if I didn't, I wouldn't watch this thing a billion times. I'm going to get to the rating here. It's a 4.75 movie for me. It's not a 5. I almost gave it a 4.5, but I remember how much this movie really meant to me, earlier on, like 20 years ago. It was just a staple of movies I had to watch. This was back before I owned it. If it came on cable, I was watching it every single time. So that's why I'm going with the 4.75.
All right, Teddles, what's your review? First time seeing it.
And I've watched it twice since. I love this movie. It's great. I've loved talking about it just as much as I like the movie.
Yeah, that's apparent.
Because it's so absurd and so satirical. It's funny to me. This is the kind of humor that I like, where nothing's off limits. And I think that when you have somebody who is as great a writer as David Mamet is, when he puts his brush on this and he paints this picture, it's so great. I know that we said that Charles Durning's character's name is George Bailey, and Anne's character refers to It's a Wonderful Life. In talking about living in the town, she says it's a wonderful life. It's almost like if Hollywood came to Bedford Falls from It's a Wonderful Life.
Well, gee, Mr. Potter.
Mr. Potter. And it's because you have the innocence of these people, and then most of them get corrupted by the Hollywood stuff. The absurdity of it is so funny. I love every single piece of this puzzle. It's like a play. And when you hear people talk about a play, there's no small parts, only small actors. And everybody plays their part up to that level. There's really nothing I don't like about this movie. I'm having a hard time not giving it a 5. And I think that's what I'm going to end up going with, because I think this is one of the close to a perfect movie as it gets.
No, look at that, Ken. You picked a perfect movie for Ted.
Every single actor here is perfect. Just spot on perfect. It's great. And I love the characters. I fell in love with all of the characters. So yeah, I'm going to give it a 5.
Okay. Well, for me, I can't argue with anything you guys said. It's a great movie. And honestly, there's nothing I can really think of off the top of my head that I really dislike about the movie. I can't give it a 5. I don't know. I don't hand out 5. But this thing, pretty close. You got a 5, you got a 4.75. I'm going to go with a 4.5 hooks, which is still pretty high. I think we can all agree that everyone loves this movie, and we have to give Ken a round of applause for picking this movie. Because
Give you a standing ovation, and we're
You
not
like
standing.
me. You really, really like
yes,
me.
because most of your movies suck, but this one's
Yeah,
actually
most of
really,
them.
really. I'm kidding. I kid.
He made us watch that basketball movie.
Okay, that thing really did suck, but that's irrelevant.
It's an after-school special.
This honestly, Ken, from the first time I watched this when you gave me the DVD, I wasn't really blown away with it. But when I watched it the second time and third time, I was like, oh my goodness, this is just an incredible movie. You sit down and you focus on it, and you watch it a second time, and you catch things that you didn't catch that first time. It's a great movie, and I will definitely watch this thing again.
We didn't even talk about Alec Baldwin talking to the little kid and signing the baseball.
Oh, about the baseballs? Yes. It's America's pastime, you know.
It's
yes.
America's Best.
Yes. Yeah, I know.
He's so fake.
He is.
It's so
He was just trying to think of something to tell the kid. He's like,
Yeah.
I know. It's a
So
great
funny.
movie. A great
So
movie.
funny.
And we all like it. And hopefully you people have enjoyed listening to our podcast and hopefully have seen the movie. So we'd love to hear your feedback, of course, on all the outlets, Facebook,
Twitter.
thank you, X, whatever you want to call it, YouTube, anything.
YouTube.
Let us know
yeah,
your thoughts.
YouTube.
And Ken, you alluded to it earlier, but what are we doing next?
We're doing a listener request from Chad, who wants us to do the 25th anniversary edition of Oh Brother, Where Art Thou?
Oh.
Starring
Man
George
of
Clooney.
constant
Don't sing, Ted.
sorrow.
Don't sing. All right.
Oh, I love the music in the movie.
Well, I think he's playing his hand early.
Yeah. Well, it's the Coen brothers. You can't really go wrong with the Coen brothers.
Can you? I guess we'll find out.
Sometimes you can.
Yeah. All right.
Ooh. I've got questions now.
Oh, you'll have
because
answers.
I have serious questions.
Well, save them for the next podcast because maybe they'll be answered. That's all the time we have for this episode of Hooked on Movies podcast. And as always, for lack of a better word, greed is good.
see you at the movies.
See you next time on Hooked on Movies.